What's going on, guys? Tower number 9 here, and today I'm bringing you a world first boxed closing video for Jump to Lightspeed. Let's get right into it. So as you can see here, we have our packs, and yeah, we're gonna take a quick look at what's in these packs, and then we're going to close them up. So not going to be going over these cards in too much detail here, just giving a quick view. Put them into the packaging. Admiral Akbar, cool leader for casual play. I don't know that he's going to be that competitive, but not a terrible card, at least thematically speaking. Got some other stuff here. As you can see, we're putting the packs back in the box. This City in the Clouds, I think probably one of the aesthetically nicest bases. Really cool art there. I think a lot of the bases in this game have really good art, and they really come out extra nice when you're looking at them in the hyperspace treatment. And then on the back, we have that fancy new shield token with Home 1 or some other Mon Cal cruiser. Really cool stuff here. Overall an interesting set. Here's a War Juggernaut. This card I think has been causing some problems for a lot of people in this set, but we'll see how it goes. Put these right back in the packaging. There we go. Some more stuff here. Blue Leader, very strong card in my opinion. Really powerful. A lot of flexibility there. I think this is a great card. I'd like to see some more cards as the game goes on that have that sort of design where you can either send them to ground or to space. I think you could do a vulture droid, because they can like walk around on those legs or whatever and fight on the ground. Here's a hyperspace orbiting K-wing, pretty cool card there. But they can walk around on those legs. They can fight in a ground battle, so it'd be cool to have one that could be deployed either to the space or the ground arena. I had an idea for a design, which was make one that is 2/2 base. You can play this unit either to ground or to space. If you play it to ground, it gets +1. If you play it to ground, it gets +1 power, so it becomes a 3/2. If you play it to space, it gets +1 toughness, so it becomes a 2/3. Probably the way that you'd have to word that is say, like, while this unit is in the ground arena, it gains +1 power. While this unit is in the space arena, it gains +1 HP. And I think that would actually be a really cool card. Now, of course, we did get this Vulture Droid, the Swarming Vulture Droid, which is a fun one. But I like the idea of having that flexibility on a card where you can send it to either arena, and it's, playing a 3/2 ground or a 2/3 space vanilla isn't like great. Like, neither of those are really great things, but the flexibility might well be worth it. Here's the Resistance Headquarters. There's another cool hyperspace base. Nice stuff there. There's a lot of cool stuff going on in this set, I think, and really one of my favorite sets thematically and in terms of balance. So we'll have to. Oops, I think I left out a card there. I guess it'll be a bonus card for this pack. We'll have to see what ends up happening with the tournament scene. I know there's been a lot of controversy about Jango Fett recently. My hope is that it will he'll prove more counterable than people are thinking. And that is the way that I'm currently leaning, but I could easily be wrong with that. It's very possible that he'll end up being a very dominant presence in the scene and they'll have to take some kind of action against him. But if so, I hope they do that fast so that we can have more fun play and exploration in this set, which I think is really one of the coolest sets they've done so far. Probably my favorite set other than Spark of Rebellion, and I might even like it more than Spark of Rebellion. I know that may seem extreme, but I think there's just a ton of cool stuff to be had here in Jump to Lightspeed, both thematically and in gameplay. Here we have Grand Admiral Thrawn. This is a character a lot of people really like, and his early version wasn't that good, but now we have a new version of him. So it should be interesting to see whether people can find some more success with a fan favorite character than they were able to earlier on. Once again, closing up this pack. And I think it's been a lot of fun playing this game, and what's going to be really interesting is once rotation starts, which should be next year, once they publish set 7, sets 1 through 3 are going to rotate out. And missing some of those cards from the earlier sets is going to be really interesting for the game. You know, I think there's going to be some surprising effects. Here's Wedge Antilles, by the way, one of my favorite characters from the old lore. Very cool. They managed to get him a leader, and one that synergizes heavily with piloting. But yeah, I mean, imagine, so right now, you know, Spark of Rebellion is kind of the base set. I think a lot of decks are primarily Spark of Rebellion cards, or it's the plurality of the deck, and really there's a lot of themes that are sort of defined there, both in terms of things like the double aspect legendary events, which kind of define the color pie and are also critical events for those double aspect builds, but also we see stuff in the first set like the Rebel and Imperial trait synergies. Here's a Hyperspace Mos Eisley, very cool looking base, and another one, the shields on the back. But you know, once rotation hits, those options aren't going to be available, and it's going to be really interesting to see how things change. You know, right now, Rebels are probably the best trait synergy there is, maybe Force. Here's Masasi Temple, which has, you know, tie-ins to both Rebels and Force thematically. But, you know, Rebels and Force, very strong traits right now, but, you know, a bunch of that stuff's going to rotate out. The evaluation could be very different. Maybe Separatists are going to be the strongest trait synergy once we lose a bunch of that stuff. Or, you know, it's hard to say. Here's this new Director Krennic, by the way, very cool card. Or, you know, maybe it's going to go pretty differently. Another thing that we could see is what happens if that new set lands and they reprint Fleet Lieutenant and Wing Leader and a bunch of those like bread and butter cards for the Rebel synergy, and it keeps going. Reprints are, I think, going to be one of the bigger questions with respect to what ends up happening. Ooh, here's a Hyperspace Techno Union Transport. Very cool card here. Probably a good one for Count Dooku if you're playing him. And I want to test out Count Dooku more, as I think he has potentially gained quite a bit from some of the things going on in the Jump to Lightspeed set. He has a very strong leader ability, but doesn't have a great Separatist card pool to enable it. But we're seeing more Separatist cards now, and we may see more still in the future that will make him more powerful. Getting towards the end here, still a few more packs to close. You know, it's been a lot of fun playing Star Wars Unlimited over the last bit, and I'm looking forward to doing some more of that in the future. But hard to say what the future holds, both in terms of any changes they might make to the game, but also just in terms of, you know, here we are, and, you know, what's the next set going to be? Legends of the Force, you know, thematically that sounds like it's going to have a lot of Force. So here's a cool card art, I Have You Now, you know, very evocative of a moment in the movie. But, you know, what's it all going to look like? I'm not sure. And I'm going to be very excited to see what they bring. And I think this game will hopefully have a long future. So we have the packs back in the box now. And so what we're going to do is, you know, this part, we're going to just close that back up, close this back up, close that there, and then we'll see if we can even get this back on. This part might not be, you know, I have not rehearsed this video, and this is my only copy of this plastic wrap, so might have a few extra tears here as I try and slide it into position. Yeah, you know, we didn't quite manage the ideal box closing experience. There are some tears in the plastic here, but you know, there you have it. Jump to Lightspeed booster box. There you go. And yeah, happy April Fool's Day, everybody.